Hello and welcome to Ways. What are you saying? It's a brand new week where we talk about topics in the news that affect us all. I am Mary Anoko and I'm so excited to be here with you on a brand new show. And I'm not alone. With me in the studio is my very gorgeous co-anchor, Mercy Ebokbo.
Yes, thank you so much, and it's good to be here today.
Yes, it's me. I'm here.
You already know. How are you doing?
I'm good. How was your weekend?
Very, I don't remember because
You don't remember?
I don't remember. So I remember someone asking me, do you remember what happened yesterday? It rained. I'm like, oh, really? What time did it rain? Because I feel like
Were you sleeping all through the weekend?
No, I wasn't sleeping all through the weekend. So usually for me, I have a, routine where I want to or like to work out, sometimes play badminton and all of that. And then...
You're living my life.
Am I living? And other times, probably just hang out. And yeah, but I can't literally say what happened. So I was told that it rained yesterday. I'm like, at what point did it rain? Because yesterday was Sunday, right? So when did it rain? I can't really remember when it rained.
Right after service, I think.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I can remember that right after my pastor said the grace, it started raining.
Yeah, you know how it can be sometimes. It rains in different, places.
Yeah, it doesn't get to some
It could be
places.
raining here right now in Yanokpaja, and it's not really VI and all of that. So yeah, maybe it's possibly during where I was. But, so because I was
you were in La La Land.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you have to tell us where you were.
Honestly, I was where I was.
I'll ask her.
No, literally, I think I was, I was just having time resting, studying,
So
and then I think I just had time.
You were just doing you.
Yes.
Anyway, I had a great weekend. I can't complain. I was under the weather, but
you don't look like I was under the weather.
I was under the weather. I still am under the weather if you listen closely. But I mean, I can't complain. I'm excited that I'm here because at some point I was like, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to come to work. But hey, we're alive and we're happy and we're healthy and we're glad to be here. But here's what we found as our quote for the day. Engagement is the heartbeat of democracy. Dial in, speak up, watch our nation thrive. And this is from my very good friend Yemi Adamuleku of Enough is Enough. I'll take it again. Engagement is the heartbeat of democracy. Dial in, speak up, and watch our nation thrive. Yemi Adamuleku. I mean, we talked about democracy last week, and we're still talking about it. And for some reason, it's been on my mind over and over again, the fact that as much as we keep talking about democracy, we're not living the democracy in itself. And we've seen it play out in the party primaries over the weekend in, Ondo State. We're seeing the PDP having its squabbles. There seems not to be internal party democracy. The dynamics of democracy seems not to be playing out well within these parties. And so we keep seeing them going at each other's heads and saying, they didn't do it right, they should cancel it. So how are these people expecting that the general elections in itself will be free, fair and credible, and why should we take them seriously?
And so this actually brings us to the conversation where we say it's important that we have, these engagement and the need for citizen participation, because like we always say, we're just a reflection of, the larger society. We are a reflection of the kind of government that we have. So if, like I always say, if you think that your president is nepotistic or is tribalistic, whatever it is you want to give it, corrupt and all of that, it's just a reflection of who you are. And I know a lot of people would not agree with that, but let's think about it. Look at the society. These persons didn't fall from the sky. They all came up from, the same system that we are in.
Absolutely.
And so whatever has happened internally is also just a function of the fact that you don't have people engaging and finding out what's going on in the system. See, I think that it's high time that we as a people sit back. It's okay to say, hey, there's a jackpot plan. We can all activate all of that jackpot plan. But honestly, can we all run away and leave the system?
Where are you living?
And the truth is, these other systems that we're running to, or the countries that we're running to, didn't just wake up, didn't fall from the sky. God didn't send this country.
They laid their bed, and that's why they're lying on it. We have to go on a break.
I know, right?
When we come back from the break, we'll look into other things that we have to discuss today. Don't forget, we're talking about a democratic system, and our conversation continues to span through that. We'll be telling you who our guests will be as we come back from the break. It's Earth Day 2024. Earth Day, for all of you who do not know, is celebrated on the 22nd of April every year, and it serves as a reminder of the importance of environmental conservation and sustainability, encouraging us to come together and take action for a healthier planet and a brighter future. And there's no better way to put it. I love it when we talk about the environment and when we talk about Mother Earth. 2 weeks ago, I had somebody who is an environmental activist, very, very famous, Nimmo Bassi, and we were talking about, garbage in and garbage out. Mother Earth is nourishing us, is protecting us, is the roof of our head, is helping us have the right temperatures. And now we're suffering. We're saying the sun is going to kill us. And he explained that we have destroyed so many things. It's the greenhouse gases that we're emitting these days that are now the problem. So it's no longer bouncing back to give us cold air. The heat is coming back twice, and we're saying that it's climate change. Do you know what climate change is? Do you know how you're contributing to climate change?
We all have contributed with our activities, and I'm just thinking that one day we'll wake up and the earth will just go extinct, will just disappear.
God,
because
please.
Well, and because it's
God
not a joke.
have mercy upon us.
Upon us. But just as we're asking that God should have mercy upon us, then it is time for us, to pay attention to the environment, because our behavior over time is not very encouraging. You see the way we, what we do, our activities, it's cause and effect, and that's life for
Simple.
you. Whatever you put in, you get. There's always a consequence for every action and inaction.
Yeah.
For instance, now we're getting close to the rain. I mean, the rains will definitely come. But don't forget, we're going to experience a lot of flooding, because you know why? You are tossing things in the gutters. You're also building on water drainage systems and all of that, waterways. Water cannot find its way, and water must find its way, because that is water for you.
Especially that we're on top of water. We are here.
Water
on
has
top
to
of
flow.
water.
So I think it's very important that we're talking about this day. We need to understand, that it's important for us to protect the environment.
Yes.
That whatever it is that we do, will come back to us.
You're universally protecting yourself. So if you protect Mother Earth, you're protecting you. You're protecting
so all of the
children
bush burning,
the
cutting of the trees, you think
Stop
you're tossing
it.
things in the water, you're
Stop
doing all of
it.
that, you're putting toxic chemicals in the rivers.
Throwing
it's
that
going to kill
styrofoam
fish.
plate into the gutter. Where do you think it's going to go? Really, it's how our minds work. Where do you think it's going to go?
You know how one thing I like about water is because water naturally would find its way. It will pass.
One
It's
way or
a
another.
force. So whether we like it or not, we need to pay attention to our environment, because one day we'll wake up and then we'll not find the environment to exist
We'll not see
anymore.
water to drink. What did you find in the news today?
Well, I think it's something that you and I have been talking about. But there's a lot of updates. A quick one. It's the fact that, it's about a Chinese supermarket in Abuja where Nigerians are not allowed to shop. Wonder shall never end, that's what they say, and this is America wonder. No, it's really, really sad. But this particular abysmal behavior, because at some point you probably say it's fake news, was confirmed by security personnel of the supermarket, that the management of the supermarket gave the directive at the beginning of 2024 without giving any reason. So they just said, hey, you can't allow Nigerians. So what happened was, they're saying that prospective shoppers...
Nigerian soil.
We'll get to that point. Saying that prospective shoppers who are not Chinese are stopped at the gate as directed by the management. And that's really, really, really absurd and very, very sad. But, fast forward, because there's been an update. The development is that following all of this allegation, because at some point we thought it was a joke, but people actually went to the scene. There were some journalists and other persons who went to the scene to confirm this, and it was actually confirmed that it was true. Now, the development is that following all of this allegation, because there's been a lot of outbursts and outcry on social media, I've literally seen where people tag the minister of the FCT, Wike, and all of that, against Nigerians. What's it called again? The commission, that's the FCCPC officials, shot the supermarket today. They actually shot the supermarket today because
consumer protection.
Yeah, the consumer protection, the federal competition. There's this general saying that, evil will continue to thrive when good people keep quiet.
Yes,
and we can't continue to fold our arms and keep quiet and allow evil to continue to thrive. I have never seen, because if you go to other parts of, the country, you will find African stores. I've never seen the time. I've seen people going to African stores who are not Africans. So Why? You
It
know,
doesn't even make sense.
it doesn't.
I'm sorry. I think it's one of those racist things that happen on our soil, and this is not the first time. I think there was a video that emerged somewhere in Cameroon, if I'm not mistaken, or also in the north, where an Asian was, docked because they were maltreating Nigerians, Africans that were working for them, and someone just captured it on camera, and then it became a big deal, and then of course authorities were invited into the situation. I love it for us as Nigerians that we're making sure that we push these kind of stories, because you can't come to my country and tell me where to shop or where not to shop. Sir, that building, no matter what you put in it, is on my soil, it's on my country land, so I have every right to shop in that place. If I cannot shop in it, then you shouldn't have it. Uproot it and take it to your country. It's that simple.
Very simple.
Because it doesn't make sense. I for the life of me, when I first saw, when I see stories like this, I just gloss over it, like, it better not be true, because I mean, I literally would have sat on it. But I'm loving the fact that the Consumer Protection, made sure that they swung into action. I'm loving this for us Nigerians. Let's also start doing that with companies that are, foreign companies that are employing us Nigerians and treating us badly. Let's begin to start, sneaking out those videos and those audios or whatever they're doing to us, complaining about it, and getting government also to attend to those issues, because there are labor laws that should protect us in our countries, and then these people come to your country and enslave you. It can't be done in their country, so let's not let them do it in our countries.
But there's also another part, just before we move up the way quickly, that got my attention. The other part of it is that I saw several comments and reactions from some Nigerians, and some people were saying, oh, what business do you have? It's your business, it's your company, and so therefore you actually have a right to do whatever it is that you have to do.
No.
But it is very important, because that's what we're about, on the show, and that's
Yes.
what we're about, as a media outfit, to say, hey, you need to understand that
Yes.
it is not right, because according to the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, this it protects, you have a right against discrimination.
Yes,
freedom from discrimination.
And I think it's not just in Nigerian law, it's a law all across the world, that covers the people that reside, are indigents, and even the people who do business in those places. There's some laws that protect you, and as a consumer worldwide, you have some certain cover. So it doesn't make sense if someone says, we don't serve. It's like the people who've been taken to court for not baking a cake because I feel like you're gay, I shouldn't bake a cake for you. So, there are just some things that can't fly.
And for those people who actually think that, it's nobody's business, that what's your business? Because you're not Chinese, you have no right. So it shouldn't be a thing of concern. Why should Nigerians become...
I like Chinese food.
Yeah, so for those people who are saying that Nigerians do not have the right to actually complain, I think that's totally wrong.
The land on
everybody has a right to complain.
Yes, my major one right is that land that you're building that shop on is Nigerian land, is our soil. That's
and as a matter of fact,
concern.
you also need to understand that as a citizen, everyone has a right to freedom of movement. You have a right to, not to be discriminated against, and not to even think that you are an indigent based on the fact that, is your skin color or your... What exactly are we talking about
There are
now?
too many indigents that don't have the same skin color like us. Let's not even go there. Me and you are from Calabar. We know that we have Lebanese that are
people actually... So, I mean, are you talking about skin color as white? But you on a hair, no white, so...
No, I'm just saying.
No, I'm just saying.
We have Lebanese who bear ethnic last names, and they don't have the same color of skin with us. So it's not about the color of skin that makes you an indigent. No.
I'm just saying, because when you say Nigerians are discriminated against, then you are looking at the fact that whenever they see a black person, they just assume this is Nigeria. You are in Nigeria. You're on the FCT, and you feel like anybody that walks with a very black skin, even if it's you. They literally just say you can't come in.
Yeah.
And we're saying that, that is totally wrong. If you look at the laws that surround us.
It shouldn't be happening. And we're in 2024.
As for the sake of humanity, that's also absolutely not right.
Yeah. Well, it's 2024, guys. Come on, let's keep it moving. Well, let me tell you what I found in the news. Mine's a bit extreme. 2,583 Nigerians killed. 2,164 abducted in 3 months. And this is a report that was put together by some intelligence gathering group that told us that in the first quarter of this year, that's the data from Beacon Security and Intelligence Limited. It's a security risk management and intelligence company based in Abuja. The data, which recorded the number of killings and abductions across the country from January to March, has showed that 80% of the killings and 94% of the abductions occurred in the north. This report, however, conflicts with the position espoused by the National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu, who said that casualty figures were going down. The consulting firm report shows that an average of 28 persons were killed and 24 kidnapped daily. I'll just leave it at that. And let me appeal to the consciences of everyone who's watching. And I was saying it on the radio earlier today that it's very easy for us to wish away the numbers, because now we've deteriorated to a point where it's just numbers now. So 80 people died, 5 people were killed, 10 people were abducted, 287, and the governor can come out and say, no, there were 115. But they're now numbers to us as opposed to human beings. Put yourself in the shoes of those people. Don't say, oh, it's in the north. They're not serious. That's why that thing is increasing. If it were your child, your brother, your sister, your mother, who was part of the number of people that were abducted on a daily or were killed needlessly, and the government just categorizes them as a number, they only pay condolence visits and then give, miserly monies, and that's it. 1 minute of silence on the floor of the National Assembly. Nothing is being done. Would you really be comfortable with that? Over the weekend, students were killed in Plateau. They were shooting directly at students in the university, students who told their parents they were going to school to learn. But then people go into those schools and start shooting at them. Where's the safety? Where's the government? Where's the security that we promised the people of Nigeria? And I'm not just talking about the North, because the North is part of Nigeria. Where are our governments? And they make excuses like, oh, these are just settlers. What kind of settler comes into your country, takes over territory, claims land, and kills your people? And you sit as government, whether you're local, whether you're state or federal, and you just wish it away. And more people, how many more people are going to die for our governments to start sitting up? Mr. President, Mr. Governor, Mr. National Assembly Legislator, Mr. State Assembly Legislator, when are you going to start working for Nigerians so that more and more people would face what they have to do in this country other than looking for money? We're now becoming a group of Babianla people, always setting up, crowdfunding because we want to release our family members. How long are we going to go on like this, Mercy?
Well, so this is actually a reminder. Like I always say again, it brings us always back to the fact that it looks as if those who are occupying, political offices, whether they are appointed or elected, have forgotten about the reason why, government exists. Government does not exist for your private gains. It does not exist for yourself. The reason why government exists is that there's a law of contract where you will, in turn provide public goods, security for the people, and in turn the people will obey the law and pay their taxes. And that's what it is. It's an agreement. So there's an agreement between those who are elected to rule and those who are being ruled. There's an agreement, and that's why it's called the law of contract. The essence government came into being is a reminder. It's that you would solely provide security. It's also enshrined in the Constitution that the security and the protection of lives and property shall be a priority. I'm paraphrasing, I'm not reading verbatim from the Constitution now, but that's what it is. Providing security, ensuring that, public goods and services are provided, top on the list, whether at the federal level, whether at the state level or at the local government, it's security. I do not understand, and that's why we have, the police as an institution of government, because you don't expect the president to be running all over the place. The police is saddled with the responsibility of ensuring that, they maintain peace, law and order, in a civil system. And of course, then you have the military with external protection, protecting us against external aggression. So the question is, where is the police in all of this? What are the security agencies? Because where are you guys? Why are people being killed? Why is the government not saying anything? What is really going on? We can't continue like this. We can't continue to fold our arms and act like nothing has happened. We need to remind ourselves that it's the duty of government to provide security, because it's actually within the exclusive.
Government is providing us with a lot of propaganda, as you can hear from this report. The chief security advisor, that's the NSA, is telling us that, oh, the numbers have reduced. But then I'm looking at the screen here. 11,000 persons have been displaced in Benue alone. And we can tell that in the Middle Belt, there's so much that's going on, let alone the Northeast or the North Central. It's so bad. It's so bad. And then we're also complicit in the down south here. We quickly say, oh, let the North solve its problem. But then, you see, it's gradually coming down this way, whether we like it or not. And if we don't deal with what's happening in the North, then we might have to deal with it all across the country. So a word They say it's enough for the wise. Well, let's move on to other parts of the conversation. In case you're watching us, this is Ways, and you can be part of the conversation. The numbers for you to participate, don't forget, you can call, you can send us a message. You're going to see it on our screen. But let's talk about democracy. At the heart of any functioning democracy lies the active involvement of its citizens. In Nigeria, where governance affects every aspect of people's lives, citizen participation is not just a right, but a duty. When citizens engage in democratic process, they contribute to the formulation of policies that reflect their needs and aspirations. Moreover, active participation fosters transparency and accountability, essential pillars for a thriving democracy. Fostering citizen participation is very essential for the consolidation and deepening of democracy in Nigeria. And this is by actively engaging in the democratic process, citizens can ensure that their voices are heard and their interests are represented. So tonight, we're asking, how can we foster citizens' participation to make a better democracy in Nigeria? And Kunle Lawal is here to help us with that. So please, let's hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation by sending us a message via SMS or WhatsApp on 081 803 84663. I'll take it again, 081 803 84663. Now, my guest, Kunle Lawal, is an idea generator. He's a TEDx speaker and a patriot. He's taken a keen eye for opportunities based on his experience in politics, working with non-governmental organizations and the federal government. He currently serves as the executive director of the Electoral College Nigeria and the country lead for Word Chat NG. He was once an acting national publicity secretary for Kowa Party, Alliance for New Nigeria senatorial candidate 2029, I beg your pardon, and has since transitioned to a non-partisan influential player in politics and electoral matters in Nigeria. It's so good to have you join us, Kunle Lawal. Thank you so much for joining us, and Happy New Year. Kunle, can you hear me? Kunle, are you there? I don't think that we have gotten to Kunle on the phone lines, but we're going to try again. Let's take a quick break and try to get our guest into the conversation so we can get it on the road. Stay with us.
Major thing that we must look into, our leaders, the leaders, who are the pilots of this democratic system. That's the leaders of the country, the people in governance, the governors, the president, and every leader in every tier of government. How are they elected? How do they get into these offices? How do we put them in this position of power to make laws for us, to direct our affairs and all that? That takes me to our electoral process. All right? So the citizens can do without the right framework without the right laws that will check people in government from abusing their authority, from siphoning funds meant for the development of their society. The members of the House of Assembly are the representatives of the people.
Welcome. It still weighs. What are you saying? And we're going to be talking about citizens' participation in the democratic process. And I did tell you that my guest is joining us. Kunle Lawal is the executive director of the Electoral College Nigeria. Kunle, can you hear me now? Welcome to the show.
Yes, I can hear you clearly, Marianne. Good evening, Marianne. How's everything?
Fine, thank you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Marianne. And of course, it's great to be on the program again.
Great, great. Let's start by looking at the issue of citizens' participation. Last week, we talked about, why it's important for us to take a look at how we practice our democracy in Nigeria. But today, we're talking about getting people involved in the democratic process. What exactly are we practicing in Nigeria, and can we really say that we're following the tenets of a democratic process in this country?
Marianne, it's a very simple question. And the thing is that there's what is on paper, which is politics and governance. And then there's the culture of what we've created, which is totally away from what is on the Electoral Act, backed by the Constitution. And then we've also brought in our ethnicity and misrepresentation of the identity of a Nigerian into the system, and that's what has corrupted it. So I'm going to give an example. There's no party that tells you, or political party constitution that tells you you should go to your village to go and register. Yes, you must be registered at a ward, but it doesn't mean your state of origin. But we have created a culture that you must go to your state of origin. So we've created these cultures, we've created a lot of stuff that are not real or backed by law. And that therein lies the problem. And I must also add at this point, Marianne, to close, that a democracy cannot function without an politically literate society. A politically literate society, I mean.
Okay. Kunle Lawal, there's also, a concern about having a trust deficit in the system. So literally, the people do not trust, the government or the system to provide public goods or even keep up to their expectations, as it were. So how can we get citizens, to engage and participate in a system where there's a trust deficit?
No, I don't understand when people say they don't trust the system. You don't trust the system you've not invested in. What do you expect? So it's basic. Oh, okay. So in Nigeria, what we take as participation in politics is voting. That's not good enough. We don't have people in political parties. So people emerge from political party primaries, and then we have to make a selection of a goldfish from the crayfish pit. Now the question is, how are you going to hold them accountable in office when you weren't even part of the process that allowed them emerge as candidates? So I believe that the Nigerian trust deficit is they are expecting too much from a system that they've not given anything to.
So what then is the way forward? I mean, I'm just saying, how do we get beyond this? Because if you look at the elections, of course, every other person would want to agree that, usually when you talk about citizens' participation in the electoral process or in the entire system, elections is one of them. You can't take that away. And usually, if you look at the elections of, 2023, total number of registered voters, 93 million, over 25 million persons turned out to cast their vote. And if you want to go about, of course, we sampled some opinions, and people would say, oh, no, we're not sure. They already know who's going to be president, who's going to be House of Rep member, who's going to be governor. So it's no point. There's no point, wasting your time to cast your vote and all of that. And we're saying, how at this point, what can we do, to get beyond all of this, excuses, if you like to say?
Okay, like I stated earlier, what can you do? First, be politically literate. Second, participate. And I'll reiterate this. Election is the last hurdle in a democracy. It's the last hurdle. We only talk about elections. We don't talk about, like I stated, party primaries, trying to participate, to be part of and become delegates to help choose the kind of candidates that exist. If you're not part of that process and you just want to go and vote, then you're a masquerade in a circus, sorry. And that's how it's going to always look. So, like I said, we need to be literate. And being literate, how many Nigerians even know how many political parties are in Nigeria? We took a poll the other day, and most people, they couldn't get the number. You don't know the number of political parties. You have a culture of saying political parties don't have ideologies, which is not true. Political parties have ideologies. Whether people follow it or not is another ball game. But maybe I should explain why people don't follow it. I would buy a form for 40 million. I'll run my elections. Then I'll get into office. Then I'll do what the party says. That's not done anywhere in the world.
But I mean, are you saying that getting involved in, of course, we understand that there's need to register and become part of a political party. But we also understand the internal wanglings and the internal politics that goes on in the system. The whole politics of godfatherism that manifests itself on a large scale. It's also a thing in, at the party level. For instance, you probably just have someone say we're zoning to a certain level, all of those factors of zoning, or you have a certain godfather in the party who's saying, oh, this person has to go. So what difference does that really make? Because, even at the political...
I don't believe that is true. I don't believe that is true. I rose to become a national publicity secretary, I think, at 34. And not because of my age, because of what I've done within the party. So the question is, you have built a culture. Going back to what I said earlier, we built a culture that you need a godfather, you need this, you need that. I'll tell you what earned me the position. I built 6 or 7 state structures. And that's what earned me the position. And I performed quite well there. And people don't want to take these steps. You just want to fix the country or fix a political party. It doesn't work that way. And we always have this conversation. We don't want to trust them. They are godfathers. They are this. They are that. If you don't enter the game, you cannot be part of the wheel.
Let's go back to the basics, which is mostly the core of this conversation: participation.
Yes.
I always like to use myself as an example. I think when I just turned 18 or barely 18, I was introduced into the political system, and that's why till tomorrow I know my ward in my local government area. I know, my local government area very well, like the back of my hand, and I know how, the internal, party politics, even at the local level, how it works. But let's talk about why Nigerians and how Nigerians should be more interested in, taking it from where we stand, because we're always looking at it from the national level. Or, we're looking at it, like you said, from the primaries. How many Nigerians, average Nigerians, are interested in the democratic process in itself, like you said, the entirety? Do we know anything about, do you know anything about your ward? Do you know anything about your local government? Who's your local government councillor? Who's your local government chairman? Are we interested in those things, let alone getting involved in party politics?
I'll help answer that question. We are not. The Electoral College took a poll of about 14,000 people, and they couldn't tell that councillors are legislative and not executive. Most people don't even know the FAC allocations to their local governments. Most people don't even know that local government chairmen do not have immunity. Where is the conversation going to start? Now you want to talk about president? We're above your league.
Cool. Let's take a break because I want to come back and sink my teeth into this, especially because we don't know who these people are, what their responsibilities are. We're always going to the federal government to say, we need the federal government to do this. We need the state governor to do this, when it's actually the duty of your local government councillor or chairman. But because we do not know their responsibilities and we're not interested, we're always pushing these responsibilities to the wrong guys. We'll take a quick break. Kunle Lawal is still with us.
Efficiency in terms of electricity distribution. People should be able to see this power being generated. You know, when you see that power is generated, you won't really complain in payments. However, the hike in price was quite sudden. Yeah, they made clarifications that should only affect about 1.9 million Nigerians, that about 10 million more are still under subsidy. And it begs the question, are they not Nigerians? The so-called 1.9, are they not entitled to some form of subsidy? You know, this should happen in phases, not outright like 200% increase. That is so, will I say, uncalled for. And looking at the fact that subsidy has been removed on petroleum products like a year ago, bringing about this one now makes it difficult for everybody at the same time.
It still weighs. What are you saying? We're talking about why it's important for you and I to join and be part of the democratic process, participation being the key word here. And my guest, Kunle Lawal, is Executive Director for the Electoral College Nigeria. Kunle, before we went on that break, I was just laying the foundation or the basis for my next question, which is it the excuse that we give, which is that we've been mentally raped by our politicians not to even think as deep as wanting to get involved or knowing what responsibilities lie where for us to even be able to ask questions, let alone wanting to join political parties because they say, oh, politics is a dirty game, it's not for us. Is it a mental issue? Is it a post-traumatic issue, or is it just that we're lazy as Nigerians and we would rather complain than get involved in the process?
I think it's a mental issue. I'll tell you that I was once like that, but when I joined the party and I rose that fast, of course I've defeated that thought process. And I'll tell you something: politicians ride on the fact that we exactly think the way we do. So it's a plus for them that we do not understand even what to demand who from. Your local government chairman will escort you to go and shout about something that you think the president should be demanding. And the president should be giving, sorry. But he is well aware that it's under his jurisdiction.
Oh, well. So we also know that, political pundits and those who are, fathers of democracy have stated that having to have protests is also another way where citizens actually participate in the democratic process of a country. And so, for instance, in Nigeria, we see a situation where, most times you have protests and the government is clamming on the protesters or clamming on those who are protesting. How exactly, can we encourage, participation in protest when you have the government, on the other hand, clamoring? First of all, you can take the case of, the NSAS as a typical one.
Protests anywhere in the world have never worked with just protests. There are always two ends to it. There's the political arm twisting, and then there's the outside protest. We just do the protest. I'll give you an example with the end SARS. To them, they wanted the end of SARS. But what therein is the real problem? There's a clause in the Constitution.
SARS, or they were asking, you know, to end police brutality.
Brutality, yes. But why is there brutality? You are dealing with it's a symptom and not the disease. What the diseases are, why, for example, did they demand that nobody, we are not in a war-torn zone. Why should any normal security officer that's not guarding vital assets or a VIP carry an AK-47 that can fire about 102 bullets per minute? They're supposed to carry pistols. Secondly, the clause in the Constitution which clearly states that our rights can be suspended when it comes to matters which are considered threat to state or government. It's a problem. So knowing what you want to protest about and how to go about it goes back to the same thing I said from the beginning. You cannot engage a system you do not understand.
So where do we start from, Kule? Where do we start from? Because I keep taking you back.
Yes,
they've taken out history from our schools, civic education, and all of those studies that we used to have that taught us the foundation, that at least helped it to stay and linger in our mindset so that we would be a bit more curious. They've played it down. In fact, it took a lot of screaming and shouting for history to be brought back into, you know, our schools. Where do we start from? Do we start from the curriculum? Is it also something, a matter of maybe parents also doing a little bit of it at home? For example, in my case, I went with my father for campaigns, so that's how I got introduced into the whole political scenario. But what do we do? Where do we start from?
I believe a faster system is the socialization of the Constitution and socialization of democratic tenets. And that can be taught and you can learn it yourself. If we're going to go through trying to improve curricula with the federal government, we're going to spend the next 10 years. Nobody taught me the Constitution. I'm not a lawyer, but at least I've spoken at quite a few law events. So it's your choice as a citizen. You can download the Nigerian Constitution on your phone. It's not hard. Go through it. Chapter 4 is what contains citizens' rights. You can go through it. The Electoral Act is open to everyone. We've chosen not to look that way.
But you're talking about people who are in your circle, people who, you and I, who are educated enough to download, you and I who even have phones to download, you know, the e-version. No, hold on. No. We have to make this point. There are those who do not have access to social media or to those phones that can download the application, which is the Constitution. There are those who even might have access to that information, but they cannot read nor understand the letters of the Constitution. So where do those people go? How do we catch them? Because they're part of the people that we need to get access to.
Thank you very much, Marianne, for your question. And I'm going to answer it very simply. The course of any democracy is determined by the middle class. It's not determined by the elite or determined by the grassroots, and I'll explain it. The conduit for transferring money from elites to grassroots is who? Is the middle class. The conduit for committing any election malpractice is the middle class. If the middle class takes a stand, the grassroots will follow. The elite will fail. Every cause, check every democracy. When Barack Obama was coming in, was middle class. Everybody else will follow. So the cause, so when I don't understand when people say there are people that can't read and write. No. That's why there's the middle class who thinks for them. That's that's where we miss it. And the middle class has absorbed responsibility, itself of responsibility. Because you can't see one of the big politicians coming down to give money to anybody. The middle class are conduits now. You know that. So don't say people that can't read, or who are the people in political party positions? It's middle class still now. And they will come as the same middle class that wrote the party constitutions will tell you the parties don't have ideology. You can't move the course of a democracy without a middle class, Marianne.
All right. So, still staying with all of that, generally speaking now, what would you say, practically, what ways can we actually get, citizens or people to participate in the democratic process?
The first thing is that we have to teach them that elections are not the only thing in a political process. They have to understand that the process is more important than the election. Now, I'll give you an example. Within the Electoral Act, it states that before any political party participates in a convention, primaries, or anything else, they must submit physical and e-copies of his entire membership list. None of the 18 political parties met that. So in 2023, all primaries and conventions were void. But how many people know that? It's open information, Marianne. So going back, I always insist, we need to know how the system works. That is the most important thing. Then we can start anything after that. That is more important than anything else.
What is the Electoral College? Because I know that you obviously represent the Electoral College, and you are a civil society organization working to try to, like your name sounds, educate people about the electoral process. What are you doing, especially that catchment area that I've been talking about, those people who are on the lowest echelon, not the middle class who have it all? What are you doing to catch more of these people and teach them where they are, help them to understand that it's not enough to get your PVC, to register and get a PVC and go and vote. You need to be part of the process all the way that leads to the culmination, which is the election in itself. What is the Electoral College doing in that regard all across the country?
The Electoral College, of course, is very proud of the work it does. We have radio programs in Hausa, Yoruba, and Igbo, about 26 modules, which people already attend virtually. And we go over and over this. We have simplified the constitution. We have simplified the constitution to basic English, and we have this book. This book should come out before the end of this year, and it will also be in Hausa, Yoruba, and Igbo. And this is not that we are saying those are 3 major languages. We plan to expand. It's just that's what we are starting with. We will of course go to TIV, EFIC, as well as we can go. And we believe that when we start simplifying these things and making these things as palatable as possible, people will find out there is no complication to politics. It's as simple as any other vocation.
Can I ask you about young people? Because that's also where my heart lies. I work with a group of people who are trying to catch people as soon as they turn 18 to be part of the registration and voting process. But then, of course, you also know that young people in today's world, it's not just a Nigerian problem, are not necessarily as interested as they should be in the democratic process, in elections, especially because some of them are traumatized by last year's election. But what are you also doing? Or in fact, let me generalize it. Let's not just talk about the Electoral College. How can we, whether we be schools, whether we be media houses, how can we get more young people to be interested in the electoral process or the democratic process in the country?
Marianne, first, we should stop electionalizing democracy. That's where the problem is. We've made democracy about elections. You can't talk about democracy without an election. Come on, no. We need to show them that it's a whole process. This is how it works. This is how it should work. Regardless of what you see, this is what's right. This is what this side is supposed to be. You don't catch them to vote, because when you catch them to vote, they don't have the sense to understand. They don't even know what a senator does. I can tell you have the people that vote for a senator vote for him for executive actions. That's with constituency projects. Now, Constituency projects are even non-constitutional. So what is it? Somebody in legislative should be running with bills and amendments of the Constitution and nothing else. So I would say, if we're going to catch them young, we should stop electionalizing democracy.
All right, so a quick one as we coast the conversation down. There's also a conversation about having to hold, these leaders accountable, especially now that the election is over. I mean, we're far gone into 2024. How can, citizens hold their elected leaders accountable?
First and foremost, they need to understand the jurisdictions of office of each political office. What can be done and what can't be done. They now need to understand if they are going to take an action against this person, how do they get it done? If you want to impeach a governor, how is it done? You want to remove a local government chairman, how do you do it? If you plan to impeach a president, how are you going to do it? You need to understand those things. I said it earlier. You can't engage the system you don't understand. You can't. So the first thing is their education, and that's why at the electoral college we are totally focused on political literacy and nothing else. We don't do election monitoring. We don't do anything else. Because more important than every other part.
So, Kunle, you're saying maybe we should all just come and sit on the table and say, we apologize, young people. We apologize, Nigerians. We've gone about this the wrong way. We shouldn't have placed the cart before the horse. We should start, not electionalize the process, the democratic process. This is where we should have started from, as opposed to saying, go out and vote.
Vote. Yes.
So maybe we need to change the public discourse and start from the top to the bottom. Maybe that way.
To the bottom. I think maybe that way people will become more interested. But when you make it about elections, how many people even know that there are restrictions on campaign funds? Marianne, not many, just a few of us, and you know that.
Actually, just a few people do know this.
And it's open information. It's not hidden. So we need to stop, like I said, electionalizing democracy.
So let me start from top. So first things first, people need to understand what a democratic process is, why each and every person holds an office, what that office entails, where their jurisdiction starts and stops. And then, of course, we now start talking about why we should all become members of a political party, no matter how big, no matter how small. We don't necessarily all have to be in the ruling party, but one way or another, we have to understand that we can make change. Because I was having a conversation with somebody on the radio, and the person kept saying, we don't want the people they should not come and spoil the PDP for us. And I said, are you a member of the PDP? And he goes, no. I said, so how are you going to be able to influence what happens within the PDP?
I don't know.
And I guess I'm talking about me too. Maybe as the press, we need to also begin to point people in these directions so that people begin to start talking about these conversations, start looking in those directions, start querying these offices, understanding the duties and the rights and the responsibilities. That way we're able now to hold them to account. Knowing that this is what they ought to do, that they've not done or they've done, and we must applaud. I want to say thank you for giving us this opportunity to do like a 360 to, realize that maybe we missed a step, and it's time for us to, refocus our attention on the right things. But finally, before I let you go, because the average person who's watching is saying, so what should I do now? Go and join a political party? Should everybody join a political party?
No. The first thing you should go and do is go and read the Constitution of Nigeria and the Electoral Act. Because there's a great conversation that Nigeria's constitution is useless. It's not. There's a little amendment that needs to happen to it, but that's the inaction of the National Assembly.
Okay.
For the last years, we've been in democracy. But it's a common conversation. Nigeria's constitution is useless.
We'll bring you back another day so we can talk about the constitution. But I want to say thank you. Kunle Lawal is the Executive Director for the Electoral College Nigeria. Thank you so much for having this conversation with us. It's not a very easy conversation to have, but I'm guessing that today, me and Messi will leave here brand new humans. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank
My
you so
pleasure.
much.
Yeah.
All right, but before you go, ensure to follow us on our social media. On Instagram, we're at Waste Shows Africa and Official Upgrade TV. Now, don't forget, you can also interact with us further by dropping a comment. And most importantly, follow all our social media engagements so you don't get left out. Remember to like, share, and comment on all of our posts. Invite your friends and family to come watch us because you don't want them to miss out. Imagine what you would have missed out today on today's conversation. Now, if you missed today's quote, here it goes. Engagement is the heartbeat of democracy. Dial in, speak up, and watch our nation thrive. And that's from Yemi Adamolekun of Enough is Enough at EIE Nigeria. See you tomorrow at 8 p.m. On Ways Africa. I want to say thank you to Messi Bokbo.
Thank you so much,
Gorgeous
Marianne.
in that couple or lilac.
Thank you.
I'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.